This week I'm taking a ride on the longest turboprop flight in the entire United States, which is quite a feat considering America's dislike of turboprop planes that mean most airlines in the US only operate jet aircraft these days. But not the airline I'm flying on today because they don't own any jets. They are entirely a turboprop airline, and today they're starting to fly the longest turboprop flight in the whole of the USA. And we're going on board for a ride to find out what it's like. Now, I always enjoy flying through Tampa Airport. It's just such a cool vibe about it. You sort of check in here and then there's like little trains out to all of the different concourses, a bit like you've got at Orlando. TSA is all done at that end, so this area here is pretty much public and you can walk around, and they've made it quite nice. There's shops and things here. The train over to the gates at Tampa Airport is pretty cool. You get on board and it takes you right the way across to the gates where you clear your TSA clearance before you head down to the plane. So my flight today is with an airline called Silver Airways, and they only fly turboprop planes, so it's no surprise that they are going to be flying their longest route with an ATR 42, and it's about a 3-hour run today from here in Florida all the way up to Greensboro in North Carolina. It's a route that hasn't been served before today. Today is the first flight, so we're going to head down to the gates and figure out what it's like. Silver Airways board from the downstairs gates here at Tampa, where you walk straight out to the plane, so I headed downstairs to wait for the flight. Oh, this is pretty convenient, really. There's like these little desk areas down here at the gate, which is pretty cool because it means you can get some work done. And actually, I'm going to be trying out the new Acer Swift Edge 16 laptop today. Because it's quite a slim laptop, I thought it would be a perfect chance to try it on such a tiny plane as the ATR and maybe give me something to do for the 3 hours it's going to take me to get up to Greensboro, North Carolina. I sat down and used the airport's Wi-Fi to download some Netflix to watch during the flight up to Greensboro. This was going to be a really long flight with not a lot to do on the plane, so I needed to do everything I could to keep me occupied for the flight. With it being an inaugural flight, they've laid on a bit of a celebration. We've got some cookies and little gifts and things here. It's pretty cool. Love it when airlines do stuff like this. I'm going to grab a Greensboro cookie, I think. So here's the thing. This is the inaugural flight up to Greensboro, but there's like 10 people on the entire flight. Not really surprising for the first one because it's really aimed, I guess, at people coming from North Carolina down to Florida rather than the other way around. And obviously with this being the first one, there's nobody really going back home that's flown down with Silver from Greensboro. So just 10 folk on the flight today. Nobody until now aware that they're actually on the first ever flight to Greensboro, so which is pretty interesting. But hey, nonetheless, I'm really looking forward to today's flight. An ATR 42 with 10 people on it, that should be pretty cool. Quite spacious too, I imagine. And I didn't have too long to find out because fairly soon the ATR 42 pulled onto stand after its flight from Pensacola. Now that's a flight I've done with Silver Airways before, flying from Orlando to Pensacola. I'll pop a link on the screen, so once you've watched this video you might want to check that one out too. And given the fact that there were only 10 passengers on today's flight, there were plenty of cookies to go around, so they were handing them out to the passengers that were inbound from Pensacola too. Congratulations guys, you've just got off a plane that's about to do something for the first time.
We'd like to welcome you to Silver Airways and thank you for flying with us for the first time. It's an hour flight.
So fairly soon it was time to board the flight up to Greensboro.
Thank you. Once again, welcome to Silver Airways, and thank you for being an inaugural flight.
And as it would turn out, that was the last mention of the word inaugural flight for my entire trip up to Greensboro, as I headed across to the plane to get on board for the 3-hour ride up to North Carolina.
Hi, how are you? Good, how are you? I'm good, thank you very much. Good.
Thank you,
There's only
Richie.
8 of you, so you could obviously open seating is fine with me. Just
Okay,
kind of spread out from
that's
one
fine.
another.
Head towards the front. Thank you.
Okay, you're welcome.
The ATR 42-600 is the smallest plane in Silver Airways' fleet and seats 46 people across 12 rows. My seat today was towards the front in row 2, but to be honest, we were allowed to take any seat that we wanted. Alright then, welcome on board the Silver Airways ATR 42-600. I've flown on quite a few ATRs. This is the first ATR 42-600 that I've been on. It's the smallest one that they do. A very short little plane, not really surprising. There's only actually 8 of us on board. There were 10 booked, but 2 didn't show up, so there's only 8 people on an ATR 42. So as you can see, there is plenty of space to go around, and they said we could sit wherever we like. This is my assigned seat, row 2. There's my view out over the engine, and you know what, it's not actually too bad. I've got quite a decent amount of space here and legroom and stuff, considering this is a small turboprop plane. It's kind of quite handy really, because it is a sort of 3-hour leg in an ATR 42, but it is quite spacious. I'm quite happy with that, so I think we're all on board, all 8 of us, and we'll be getting on our way very soon for our ride up north to Greensboro, North Carolina.
Ladies and gentlemen, at this time I will be closing the main cabin door.
Once again, welcome aboard Flight 44 with trips to Greensboro. Your flight is in the command of Captain Jorge, assisted by First Officer Dennis.
In the unlikely event of a water landing, there is a life vest located beneath your seat.
We taxied out to the runway at Tampa to get on our way for our mammoth 3-hour flight across America to North Carolina. Our route today then took us north across Florida, crossing Georgia and South Carolina before entering North Carolina and descending into Greensboro. Flight time today was 2 hours 44 minutes, cruising at 19,000 feet. So whereas in other parts of the world turboprops are still pretty popular really, you can generally fly around Europe or Asia or South America even on turboprops. Here in the US, well, they've kind of fallen out of popularity quite some time ago with the advent of jet aircraft. To the point where if you speak to most people, they would much rather take a flight on a jet than they would on a turboprop. It's not difficult to see why. They're small, they're cramped, noisy as hell, especially if you sit here by the engine like I am foolishly, and they fly at lower levels as well, so you tend to get bounced around quite a lot more by the weather. So it's not difficult to see why Americans prefer jet aircraft. That being said though, Silver Airways are building up a nice little market here in the southeast of the US, from Florida all the way up across the southeast, using ATRs, and they seem to be pretty popular usually, at least from the flights that I've taken with them. Today's flight not quite as popular, but then again with one flight a week between Tampa and Greensboro, it's probably not difficult to see why, but I'm looking forward to it anyway, even if there's not many other people to enjoy the experience with. Once we levelled off at our cruising altitude, it was time to crack open the laptop and Netflix and chill for the rest of the flight. Now I have to say I haven't used a Windows laptop in a very long time, so I'm a little bit out of the loop. I've not seen this fancy new Windows 11 before. It's pretty cool actually. It's quite nice, it looks quite pretty, and it seems to have quite a lot of useful functions with it as well. The thing I really like about it though is this Windows Studio effect. And basically, like when you do a webcam call, like a Zoom call or something like that, it kind of follows you as you move around and keeps you focused on the frame all the time, so you look really nice. Well, if you're not me, you look really nice when you do video calls and stuff. It's really cool to use like AI technology and stuff. It's pretty nippy, pretty nice. It's also got high speed Wi-Fi as well, so when I was on the ground down in Tampa, I downloaded some Netflix to watch. So I'm going to sit and watch some Netflix on my laptop. Because it's powered by AMD's Ryzen processor, the Swift Edge 16 has no problem at all playing videos or even some gaming to keep you occupied on the go. Check out the link in the description to get your hands on one of these cool pieces of kit.
It's time for the Noel Phillips Lou Review.
It is indeed time for the Noel Phillips Lou Review, and this is the longest turboprop flight Lou Review. There ain't much room. It's an ATR bathroom. These things aren't exactly Emirates A380 class bathrooms. We've got no showers or anything on here apart from when the water splashes on the floor, as it appears to have done. But this is the loo at the back of the ATR 42. We've got some sanitary towels there, some hand wash and wipes and stuff like that. We've got the toilet just there, maybe changing table and everything pops out just there. We've got the little caravan style sink here, a bit of a nasty air vent there, and that's pretty much it really. These things aren't exactly known for their spaciousness, let's say, but with only 10 people on board, with only 8 people on board because 2 didn't turn up, remember, it's actually not actually that bad, and we've only got a 3-hour run today. So it's not like he's going to be doing like a 12-hour flight and having people using it for 12 hours. It's not the end of the world. It's not massive though, that's the thing. So if I were you, I would probably make sure you go before you get on the plane. A mistake that I made.
That was the Noel Phillips Lou Review.
Flight crew, we would like to welcome you again aboard Superfly 44 with service to Greensboro. At this time we level up at 18,000 feet.
I see the average length of flights on ATRs here in the States is just around 300 miles long. This flight today is 600. It's double the length of the average ATR flight, and you can kind of see why I'm sitting here right now. My head is absolutely pounding right now. We've got still an hour left. We've done like over an hour and a half now. We've got more than an hour left before we arrive into Greensboro, and yeah, my ears are ringing. It's noisy. It's not been too bouncy, to be honest. The weather outside's been quite smooth for most of the flight, but you can see why airlines and why passengers prefer to fly on a jet rather than turboprops for these sorts of distances. This is a bloody long flight on an ATR. The thing I do have to say though is, this flight, to say it's the inaugural flight of the longest turboprop flight in the whole of the USA, there's been relatively little fanfare, at least from Silver Airways. Now, Tampa Airport put together a few bits and pieces down on the ground there before we left. We got these cookies and things, and they made a bit of a song and dance about it for the 8 passengers on the plane. But even the crew aren't bothered that it's the inaugural. I have overheard the captain as he went downstairs and went out to the plane while we were on the ground, and he was chatting to the marketing guy from Tampa Airport, and even the captain was like, oh, it's an inaugural. Oh right, okay. Even the captain didn't seem particularly well. There's been no announcement or anything since we've been on the plane. Part of me wonders how long this route's going to last, you know, up to Greensboro. This is a once a week service from Tampa to Greensboro, and looking at today, there's like 8 people on the flight. Yeah, I just wonder how long this route's going to last. Hopefully a long time. Right, then we have finally began our descent down into Greensboro. The engine pitch has just changed slightly. It's not quite as heavy anymore, so my ears are finally getting a little bit of a rest. That we are going to be descending down into Greensboro now. We should be on the ground pretty soon. It's a beautiful day out there. But nevertheless, our flight on the ATR was coming to an end, and I was looking forward to seeing quite how busy the return leg down to Tampa would end up being. With a little luck, it would be a lot busier than just 8 passengers. And the approach into Greensboro is actually really pretty as well. It's a beautiful part of the world. There's loads of lakes and forests and hills and everything. It's just a really scenic approach. And after a flight time of just under 3 hours long, we were finally touching down on the runway here in Greensboro, North Carolina.
Ladies and gentlemen, Silver Airways welcomes you to Greensboro. The local time is 6:59. And on behalf of Silver Airways, we would like to thank you for flying with us today. We wish you a pleasant stay in Greensboro or wherever your travels may take you.
My flight up to Greensboro cost me just $48 or around 8 cents per mile. Now multiplied by 8 people, that means they'd raised just under $400 for a 3-hour flight in an ATR, which doesn't seem to cover that many costs. No wonder we just got a bottle of water. The crucial thing would be though how many people were waiting to board back down to Tampa, and we didn't have too long to find out. At a rough count of the passengers waiting to get on board, there were 18 people waiting to head down to Tampa. Now on a 46-seat aircraft, that means it was less than half full, which, considering the amount of marketing Silver Airways had done for the launch of this flight, still seemed a little bit on the light side.
Is this baggage claim?
You can go up and get it out.
Okay.
Welcome to a deserted Greensboro, North Carolina. Well, this is probably why it's deserted. There's like 3 flights going today. 2 of them have already left. There's only 1 left, and that's the Tampa flight. Looked like there were quite a few more people going back to Tampa than came up though on that flight, which was quite nice. But yeah, this airport is just a little bit strange. It's massive, but empty. A bit like the Marie Celeste, and there's a pair of legs, look. With a plane on them. Nice. Right, let's see how we get out of here. Now, the airport might have been deserted, but there was one more job on my list to do before I got on a Delta flight back to Houston. Right, now you cannot come to Greensboro, North Carolina without checking out Greensboro's biggest tourist attraction. And I found him. Mr. Jeb Brooks, greenergrass.com.
That's me, and thank you so much for coming to Greensboro. We are so honored to have a celebrity like you in our
You've
little
already
town.
got one, but I mean, like an extra one, of course. But anyway.
Well, you know, in this little sub-segment of the world, in our little aviation...
little corner of the internet. Yeah, exactly. What do you think of Silver Airways' new inaugural flight down from Tampa?
Super stoked that we have even more service from a new airline to us. Greensboro is a really cool town, and we are so glad to have service from Silver Airways. And I'm really stoked that you were on the very first flight from Tampa.
Of course, you can't do these random flights and not. They had to have somebody on there, even if there was no other passengers. At least there was me. So.
Hopefully that load factor does increase. 8 passengers.
Yeah, it's a little bit of a small market, but touch wood, there were a few people waiting to get on the plane the other way, so that's good.
And now that your video's out, everybody's going to book this thing.
Everybody's going to book a flight, aren't they, to Tampa? So yes, come and check out Greensboro. You might meet Jeb. He just seems to just live in the airport here. So
this is my second home.
But yeah, well, thank you. Thanks for meeting me, taking me out for breakfast. Anyway, appreciate that.
Well, thank you for coming.
And showing me around this amazing town of Greensboro. It's been really cool. So check out Jeb's videos if you're not a subscriber already. I'll pop a link on the screen. Check out your videos too. And yeah, in the meantime, well, thanks very much for watching. Take care, and we'll see you on the next one.
See ya.
Bye for now.